Welcome, welcome. This is Liz with 143 Handmade, and we are here to work on our little landscapes today. So, just threading my needle and tying my big ugly knot. And all I do to tie my knot is I just loop it around my finger and then I roll it. So there's several rolls there, and I just hold it with my fingernail until it tightens up. And the knot doesn't always end up in the same spot. See, like right there, I have two of them. One right here at the end and one up a little bit. And you can just roll it again and then go above your top one with your fingernail. I don't know, it's the big ugly knot method that my grandma taught me. So that's how I do it. But there are some really cool ways to tie knots out there. If you're really interested, you can totally look that up and go down that whole big rabbit hole. So this one I decided to do a little bit more like chunky and abstract, because see, like this one, I mean, they're all abstract obviously, but you know, these I went really simple with the skies, you know, just a solid piece of blue fabric. Yeah, different blue fabric, but still blue fabric. And so this one I am just using tiny stitches to, at this point, to just kind of anchor it down. It is blue, so you're so, you know, it's going to float right into the theme and everything, and it's not going to be a big deal if you see it. So I'm going to cut this one to kind of go around that. I even kind of like the purple showing through a little bit, but you know, to each their own. This is very much, it depends on the scraps you have, how to do this part. There is no right way. These are upholstery samples that I got. I think this was one of the free, you know, one of those deals where they will send you a whole bunch of free samples, for, you know, just in hopes that you will come back and buy their furniture. So, but I am not going to give out a name or anything like that, because I have mixed feelings on the moralities of doing it. You know, I mean, yeah, it's free samples, but it is free samples with the intention of, you know, they want that investment back on a level. So, but I'm not really like closing up the gaps. I'm not really sewing over the edges. I've done a couple of stitches over the edges just to kind of see. I think I just did that one. Okay, yeah, one there. I don't really love it. And so my new method is that I'm just going to sew on a single piece at a time with these just little stitches on the top, big stitches on the bottom, and well, sort of big, because I mean the whole thing's kind of small scale, but you know, in case you missed the first episode, there is a first episode where I constructed the journal that these are going to go in, but just to fill you in, the pages are roughly 5.5 by 9.5. Just so you kind of have an idea of scale, even if you have no interest in doing this yourself or whatever. That it was just totally randomized. It was, I had some muslin pieces left over that were all the same size, and they were just kind of got thrown over to the one side of my cutting table. And then I'm not sure if it was days later, maybe even weeks later, I was working on a totally different project, and the black cover piece of fabric was the only piece left out of a project. It was, I had consumed a bunch of my scrap fabric in the last quilt that I made, and that was the only piece left out of all of that. And I just threw it over in my pile of stuff to deal with later on my cutting table, and it just happened to fall on top of those little pages. And when I went to pick them up, I noticed that they were just all just the right size to fit with each other, and I was like, hey, that's a book. And then I threw them aside and didn't know, you know, didn't have a plan or whatever, just kind of stuck them off on the edge, and I was like, okay, yep, that's a journal later. And then I decided to create some little landscapes. And then I was like, hey, how big do I want to do these? You know, and all of that. And it got me thinking about what materials I had. And so I remembered that I had that muslin, and I went and found it, and it was just like, yes, this is what we're doing. So let's see, where's my thread? My thread's over here, so I'm gonna grab this piece next. Put that guy there. See, I had thought about putting this one on top, but I don't know. I don't know if I want to do that or not. Okay, so again, just big stitches on the back, tiny stitches on the front, and just tacking it down. No rhyme or reason, just a quick tack stitch. Because my plan here on this one is that after I get all of the pieces just kind of held down so I don't have to worry about them going anywhere, then I was thinking about going back with some either black or just very highly contrasting blues, as opposed to this blue that's pretty well, it's kind of fading in on some of them. I mean, it contrasts well with that one, but the rest of them just kind of disappears on. But something that has a lot of contrast to it, and doing like, I don't know, I was thinking like Van Gogh's Starry Night, you know, kind of a swirly thing going on. But I don't know, I haven't decided yet. But like, that's the whole point, is to just get started. Don't wait till you know for sure. Don't wait until you have it all planned out. Just with slow stitching, stitching is the thing. Just get to it. Don't worry about it knowing exactly what you want to do. It'll be totally fine. Okay, that stitches, that one's all the way anchored down. So now I'm just going to add this guy. I'm going to go ahead and overlap that slightly. I haven't overlapped a lot of them on this one because it's already so such thick fabric, you know. But this would be something like, if you had these thicker pieces of upholstery fabric, and say you don't like slow stitching at all, but you have them and you need something to do with them, and you know, I do paper journaling and that's how you found me, and you're like, why am I watching you do a slow stitching? Well, because the same technique you could totally do with these samples on a piece of paper with glue. It would just, you would be done already, because you could just glue it down instead of the stitching that I'm doing. So it's really just another method of collaging, and I am just using this needle and thread to anchor it down, as opposed to just gluing it onto, like I said, a said piece of paper. Something of that nature. But you could totally do this as a paper-based project, I mean. Okay. So, you know, I had planned on going lower. You know, I have all of these strips set up to go lower. But I'm actually not sure I want to, because I want to have space for the landscape stuffs too. And, you know, by the rule of thirds, I'm there with my little carpet samples already. Excuse me, not carpet samples, upholstery fabric samples. So I'm going to go ahead and toss my blues back in there, and then decide. Let's see, I'm going to pull out a couple of, let's see, I'm just going to go ahead and stick with my samples. I have other fabric up here, but I have all of these samples that I want to get used up too, so I'm going to go ahead and pull out some other options. Okay, get rid of that one out of my workspace because it's just empty now. But yeah, see, there are all these, like, I don't know, roughly 4-inch squares, I believe. Yeah. So, you know, I mean, that alone could be a great little landscape piece. If you wanted to go tiny, just use that as your base and build on there. That's totally possible. So I think I want to stick with the geometric thing, but at the same time, instead of just having it be all just cubes, I want to go ahead and use triangles too. You know. So let's see, do I want to go with some brighter colors? Let's see, I have the greens. So this is just where you just audition, you know, you just take the time to audition a bunch of different things. Those are all in one colorway, those are all in another. Let's go ahead and throw those back. We've already got several different options. Okay, so I have decided to go with the yellows this time. And let's see, I didn't ever tie this guy off. So, because I wasn't sure what I was going to do next. Or if I needed to add more blue. Because if I end up needing to add more blue, then it's fine that that's anchored. So yeah, leave it. Set my greens aside. Okay, so what I'm going to do is take the stickers off because I don't want the sticker. I don't want to be dealing with that. But at the same time, I just didn't bother to de-sticker them until I was ready to use them. So, okay. Let's see, we have these two that match. And then these three that are different. So let's go ahead and stick the match off to the side. I mean, I may still use it, but still. Oh, this is going to be interesting. I wonder if these are how these are going to work. See, and I can change the angle too. I don't have to keep the angle. So let's see, first thing I'm gonna do is go get some better scissors because there's no way. Let me see, do I have better scissors in the drawer? No, I don't. Okay, I am back with new scissors because that was just not gonna work. So yeah, see, so much better. Okay. Now we have this angle. To do a very tall mountain peak like that, maybe? And I'm not worried about the extra. I'll cut off the extra later. I was just kind of wanting to change that angle and see if I liked it. You know, and mountains don't have to be, you know, 100% like peaked at the top. You know, do something like that. It's not like they have just flat tops or pointy tops. A lot of times it's kind of in between. So yeah, I'm just trying to figure out some stuff right now. So I don't, you know, I don't really know for sure exactly what I'm doing. Let's go ahead and just kind of cut this one basically in half. Okay, my angle was slightly off there, but you know, basically just cut this guy in half. And see what that looks like right here in the center. Let that guy go on top. And then I could even take this other triangle. It's the same. Lady. My cat, she found this. They love chewing on that plastic, that crinkle. Yeah. I thought I had those all picked up and put away. Apparently not. Dropped one. So, let's see, do we like that? I kind of do, I kind of don't. I kind of don't like them being the same. But I wonder if I would still fit that if I took that guy there. You know, or I could just totally flip over all of those angles that I made and just come back here. And just flip around to use that angle. Oh, my lady, my lady. This is my lady, lovely lashes. She doesn't like to go upside down, or I would show her face on the camera. She's so pretty. So what it is she wants her lunch. She's telling me she's ready for her lunchtime. But I am not ready to go feed her yet. So, just knotted that off, flipped it over. Need new thread. And so I'm gonna go ahead and place those like that. I have this one where I want it. Ugly knot. Pinned with my finger. And I'm just gonna take a couple of those, like I said, those tacking stitches. Tiny on top, big on the bottom. So that way I can, like I said, just get it on there. That's all I'm trying to do at this point, is just tack it down. And this one, especially because it's going to be under, just those 2 tack stitches are going to be plenty, because those, when I stitch these on, it will anchor that even better. Actually, I'm going to pull this one down as far as I can and still cover that up, so I can put a little cloud right there. Okay, so that's a little too close to the edge. There we go. Oh, pulled my needle out. I've been watching a channel called Sewing with Carol, and she's all the time pulling her thread out like that. But she made some wonky tiny houses, and oh my goodness, I hadn't thought about that. I hadn't done any of those, but they're adorable. And but I had already started these landscapes, and so I was like, okay, that can be next. That can be next. Calm down. So, and because this is sewing through so many very thick layers, you might have noticed there that as I'm getting it through, I place the needle where I want it, and I kind of push it through a little bit, but I'm also kind of using the other fabric to help push it through, or I'll push it down on the desk. So that way it's not, all that pressure is not on my fingers. Although my fingers are like super calloused and worn right now from all the stitching I've been doing. So, and it looks like I did get that a little bit low. Missed that spot, but I can either cover it with this guy. Yeah, I think that's what I'll do, so I'll just cover it with this guy like that. But I do want to see, okay, if this one wasn't cut right there, I would have had that on top. But since it is, it needs to go under, or I want it to go under. And so I'm just going to come down here, put a tack stitch where they meet. And then, see, I'm trying to decide, do I want to go ahead and come down here? Or I think I'm just going to stick to the top edge for now, because I may end up trimming some of that off. That does happen with this type of landscape. Sometimes it's easier to trim off that excess instead of sewing through it. For your under layers, I mean, you have to overlap some, but you don't need to underlap, or you don't need to overlap the entire project, But yeah, so let's do that, and then I'll just stand it on its end and push it through. That's what I was doing. To the back, start it to the front, and then use the desk to push it through instead of your finger. I really should get some thimbles, but I haven't found a thimble that I like. That's the issue. Is I have a bunch of them. I have a bunch of different kinds, and I know I need to use one on a level. And my grandma, I can hear her voice every time I'm sewing without a thimble. So telling me I need to use a thimble. Your fingers wouldn't hurt so bad if you were using a thimble. Like I can hear it. But it's not, it's like teasing, it's not mocking. I know it kind of sounded mocking right now because I'm kind of chuckling and then I have a little bit of a cold, but no, it's a gentle tease. She was a gentle lady. But yeah, she's been gone 20 years now, 20 plus years. She died in the 90s, just she's still so alive for me in my brain and in my memories and what I do day to day with the crafting. It just, you know, I still hear her loud and clear. Okay, so now we got that one on. I'm not sure this is gonna be quite enough. It definitely would not be if I was truly sewing it, but it might be enough to go ahead and tack it down. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it a shot. Move that back. Get this guy placed where we want it. And again, see, I'm not sure that I need to leave this whole hunk here. I really don't need that for the composition to work. See? There'll still be plenty of overlap to anchor it nicely. I don't like how even those three turn out to be, but oh well. I'm gonna go with it this time because, like I said, these are just about learning, and even if it's to teach me things that I don't like, that still holds a tremendous amount of value for me, you know, in this situation. You know, because sometimes in life that's as important, if not more important, than trying to figure out what you do like, is figuring out what you don't like. So, okay, I think that's overlapped good now. So again, I'm going to go ahead and start right here where they're all overlapped. It's kind of a big stitch. Oh well. Oh, come on off there. All right, Carol. You rubbed off on me. I can't seem to keep my needle threaded either. But I don't know. I don't know what to say. Kind of rambled out. Concentrating. But I think that my next video for these little landscapes, I think that I don't know that I want to try and slow stitch every single one with you, or if I just want to do some share videos, or, you know, that sort of thing. Okay, so this one thread has gotten shorter than the rest somehow, and doesn't want to pull through, so I'm just going to leave it loose back there because this is just a tack stitch on a practice piece. I would not at all do that on an actual embroidered piece, on a piece that I was going to show to anybody in any kind of real, look at how pretty you know, look at my skills kind of way. No, this is just tacking it together so I can learn. So it's just fine. There we go. All right. And now the greens. Yeah, I like that. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and get this all tacked down and placed in my book, and I will see you guys again next time. And thank you so much for joining me.